Hello, my name is Kim, and welcome to the Phoenix 76 Tech Talks. I'm here with my good friend Wally to talk about help desk.
Sure.
Wally, why don't you just give us a quick intro and then we'll get started with some of our questions.
I will. And thanks, Kim. Great to be connecting on this forum. My name is Wally, and I am currently an IT architect with a distribution company, which just means that I basically help to pick software that helps the company do its work. That being said, I maybe just to give a little bit of background, not too long, I studied computer engineering in college. But since then, I've really worked a lot of jobs. And many of them really started with customer service, starting from, Kentucky Fried Chicken as a chicken boy to, Old Country Buffet as a busboy. And,
Oh, wow.
eventually my path led me to technology, and I'm right here where I am today. So
Good, good. Well, glad to have you in technology. You are a powerhouse for sure.
thank you.
Um,
But that,
since we're here talking about help desk, can you just share some info in terms of what's really involved in the role with working with the help desk? What kind of responsibilities are associated with it?
yeah, when I think about help desk, I almost like to answer it in an abstract kind of way. Literally, help desk is really about solving problems. So, if I were to kind of ask the audience or whoever's watching this, what I would ask is think of a time that you've had a problem and you've ever had to call somebody, and think about the good experiences and the bad experiences. God knows we have both of them. Really, the help desk is not terribly different from that. It depends in different industries and the types of computers that you work with. But ultimately, I'd like anyone thinking about help desk to think of it as a problem solution finder. Again, it could be high-end computers, it could be desktop machines, it could be equipment out on a rig. But really, that's ultimately what a help desk is helping solve problems.
Yeah, sounds good. I love that. Being a problem solver, you listen to people, you get to understand what it is that they're facing, and you try to resolve as quickly as you can with the skills that you have. Um, so yeah, speaking of skills, what would you consider are essential skills and qualities that would be involved with the help desk position, and how can candidates demonstrate these qualities during the application process?
Yeah, the skills in general will fall into two areas. One is, more of your technical skills, and another one will be your non-technical or soft skills. If I were to, and I love stories, pardon me, so I'll take these segues down. But the example I would think is back to the question I was asking earlier. Think about an experience you've had when you've had needed help. For me, one of those examples was I remember when I was younger, there was this particular bill I was trying to pay for months. Like I would send in the right amount. The very next month, I'll get a bill back saying, "Hey, we hit you with a late charge, and now you have a late charge upon the late charge." And this had to go on for months, and every time I called, somebody was there on the other end. Um, Eventually, I reached this one lady after probably 4 months of this, and she sat down, quietly listened to what I was saying because I was frustrated. Um, After listening, she now gave me solutions that matched what their systems could provide.
Mm.
Sir, we'll move your due date. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And at the end of it, I walked away like I could have paid her just for the service she was offering me.
Wow.
Um, so when I think about skills, with a help desk, it's really those soft skills count for a lot. But
Yeah.
you also have the technical skills, like if you, for instance, are a help desk for computer stations, you probably need to know a little bit about networking, a little bit about how the computers are put together, probably a little bit about the particular type of computer. Let's say it's a Chromebook. Um, you can't really have one at the expense of the others, but that would be a summary of the types of skills you would need.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so just having some basic skills. You don't have to necessarily be an expert in a programming language, or you don't have to know how to put a computer together, right? You just need to understand some basic information, ask some basic questions to try to understand what the problem is and kind of work towards solving the puzzle, essentially, right?
That's
Good.
absolutely correct. And in fact, I'll add to that in saying, you're normally not alone when it comes to help desk. Typically
Mm,
you would have one layer that takes the phone calls, has to understand some basic troubleshooting, but then typically you have escalation paths. If you can't answer it, you end up, escalating to somebody else and then somebody else. And so you have support. It's not something where you have to know everything day one. So
love that, because then that makes it less intimidating, especially if you're just kind of breaking into the field. Um,
exactly.
and would you say because of everything that you just kind of laid out, would you say that help desk is a good area to start, especially if you haven't had any prior training, any formal training in IT?
I would say it's a fantastic place to start. Um, now when you think about the help desk again, it varies depending on the type of organization that you're trying to work with. But the thing about the help desk is you also have a lot of if you're trying to get into that field, you have a lot of resources available out there for you. For instance, boot camps, which I can expand on a little bit later on. Many cities have these where you basically go to a boot camp. In some cases, it's even free of charge. They put you through a multi-month program. And then once you're through that program, they basically, in some cases, will work with companies to try to place you. Um, Oftentimes with no experience, but again, back to the soft skill, technical skill, you do have to have a certain type of soft skill and also just a willingness to do the work. Like it's not for anybody. You really got to be willing to roll up your sleeves and just learn something new.
Yeah, no, that makes very good sense. Absolutely. Um, So in terms of help desk as the roles that you're interacting with clients, of course. So obviously, some of the soft skills you have to be able to talk to people, right? You have to want to help people. Like you said, you really have to have that willingness. Um, when how do you actually go about, or how would you recommend approaching customer service and communication in a help desk environment?
Yeah, so customer service and communication, again, I like to, and I'm speaking, this is one part of my background I didn't share. My first job out of college was in technical support. I managed, or rather provided technical support for high-end computers and at the time, things that they used to do graphics. Um, One of the things I think, always resonates is people always remember more about how you made them feel than what you say. So I think when it comes to
Yeah.
collaborating and making people feel comfortable, like that has to be somewhere on the list. To
Hmm.
know that here's somebody, they're calling you for a reason, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. But I don't know, Kim, you had something you wanted to add there. I cut you off.
No, no, you didn't cut me off. I was agreeing with you. I love that. That's some Maya Angelou sprinkled in there. So I
Mm,
absolutely love that. That is
yeah,
very true. Yep.
yeah.
Good. So, technology is one of those things that's constantly evolving, right? The minute something is developed or created, it's already obsolete because somebody's on to the next best thing above that. And then, of course, we know that AI is very prevalent. Generative AI is the greatest thing going right now, and you hear it everywhere. How should help desk professionals stay updated with the latest software, hardware, how to troubleshoot the different techniques and things that they can be effective when it comes to the level of support they provide?
So I'm smiling here, and Kim would realize why. But Kim, you and I just finished this book project, and it literally kicked our tails. Like think about us
Correct.
staying up to like 10, at night and beyond,
Yes.
reading, um, really. But that book project we did was all about continuous learning. Like we've both been in our careers for like many years now, not
Yeah.
made ourselves, but the commitment to continuous learning, to making sure that we are not stale, we're not
Yeah.
stagnant, I think is something that every human being on the face of the earth has to do. And I think that goes beyond just, help desk. It's really 101 years old. If you stop learning, that might be it. So I think this applies in the help desk too, as much as the things that I said about we're surrounded with people, you can escalate, but you have to be willing to, one, put in the work to develop your craft. Now, In addition to that, putting in the work to develop your craft, I think not that I think, there are so many resources out here. When I grew up, there wasn't really the internet. Now you can get online. There's Coursera you can use to develop yourself. There are
Hmm.
book clubs. Find a good common set of peers that are interested in what you're interested in. Ask people, just talk. You'd be surprised what you learn. So there's so many resources to make sure you're keeping yourself current. And then I think, Kim, just like what you said, know what the trends are. If people are talking about AI and you don't know, whip out your phone and use it for something. You'll be
Yeah.
amazed at what you learn. So there's so many ways to stay current, I think.
Yeah, very good points. All of that. And, the thing about it now versus, and again, I'm not trying to date either of us, but, it wasn't that long ago, though, that we can have these devices that we can hold in our hands now and have access to a whole world of information, right? And so it's good to be able to tap into those resources. Like you said, just pick up the phone, look things up, Google it, whatever. Um, can you share some examples of common technical issues that help tech teams encounter, and how do you recommend addressing these challenges?
Yeah, I think one of the common ones, it's funny, I was speaking with a guy in our neighborhood earlier today, and he tells me, he says, hey, I called the help desk and it took him more time to introduce himself than he said than it took him to tell me to just restart the computer. So I think you'll find, unfortunately, that a lot of problems with computers do come down to restarting them. But going beyond that, the network is kind of a very key component today. Um,
Mhm.
you don't have to know all 7 layers of, whatever OSI model it is, but understanding the basics about how do you connect to the internet, what are the things that can go wrong in someone's house, that probably will resolve most of the problems you see out there. Um, then there are some basics just around, what are the unique things about the platform you're supporting. Is it a MacBook? Is it a Chromebook? Is it, a Windows machine? So there are nuances like that that you can also address. And like I said, depending on the platform you're supporting, you likely will also have a lot of support around you. There is the joke that people always crack about the old guy who called the help desk and said, "Hey, my cup holder is not working." In the old days, these are like, floppy disk drives.
Yeah,
So occasionally you might run into people like that, maybe they're not as familiar and that's okay, so just a
good,
few
good.
examples.
Awesome. Well, Wally, you've given us so much good information, and I mean, we're just barely scratching the surface with this. Obviously, there's a lot more that we could cover. Um, and you've shared some resources that could be available locally. And one thing that I do want to ask before we go, what would you recommend in terms of, because the resources could kind of help to get a person started, but what about someone who's already working in the help desk environment? What kind of career advancement opportunities or things should they do or try to pursue?
Yeah, it's the sky is kind of the limit. And I know that this sounds cliche, but from the help desk itself, and I mentioned that I started in the help desk, you typically would have escalation tiers. So, if you're good at what you're doing and you're making those connections with other people, there's always kind of a first tier of support, a second tier, and oftentimes a third tier. That's definitely a promotion path if you're looking to stay within the help desk world. Then you have all of these kind of laterals or sort of adjacent industries. Like you could go into sales, depending on what you're supporting. You could go into building the software that's deployed on that. Of course, that would require a different set of skills, but the fact that you have your foot in the door, which is why Help Desk, I think, is such a fantastic place. Like you get to learn a lot about people, the platforms, the options that they're out there. Other things that you could get into are like being a project manager. Now you understand how this thing works. There
Yeah.
might be a project to go stand up a new distribution center somewhere and they need lots of computers out there. That's an option for you. So really, sky's the limit with a little bit of creativity, a willingness to really put in the hard work. The help desk can be a very rewarding place to start your career, as long as you're committed to continuing to learn and expand yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, you stop learning, you start dying in my book, right?
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Wale. This has been really helpful. I think you have proven yourself, of course, to be a subject matter expert. Hopefully, this information will help some people out there. Thank you, everyone, for watching another edition of the Phoenix 76 Tech Talks, and best of success for your future. Bye, all.